What's up? Ian Koniak. I've been getting a lot of questions about how did I get off Adderall and go from someone who couldn't focus at all, having ADHD, to somebody who now is very, very meticulous, organized, and really started a business and built it to 7 figures in under a year. And I never would have thought this possible 5 years ago. In fact, it wasn't possible because I hadn't built the habits. So fundamentally, I'm going to talk about why I got off Adderall, and I'm going to talk about how I developed habits for time management that were effective and helped me really work a full day every day from 8 to 6 on high priority activities that move the needle. The biggest request I get from my coaching clients is, how do I stay focused? There's so much noise. There's so much stuff coming in. I don't know what to prioritize. I'm beating myself up because every day it feels like Groundhog Day, where I set my goals and I don't get anything done. And I think the biggest source of this, first of all, if you feel this way, you're not alone. You're not alone at all. And the biggest source of this, I fundamentally believe, is that we are in a dopamine rich and dopamine starved society where every single minute of the day we need stimulation. And this is a consequence of, the smartphone and social media and having entertainment at our fingertips. And here's what I mean. If you can pick up your phone all day, every day, and get immediate gratification, such as checking your sports or your stocks or your social media or text messaging a friend or anything, YouTube videos, whatever you fundamentally enjoy, and you're used to doing that all day, every day, you're not going to be able to focus. It's not just a function of ADHD, okay? It has to do with the fact that your brain is constantly stimulated. And sitting down and focusing and working a full day is frankly not stimulating. In fact, it's pretty boring. And there's things that we enjoy that give us energy, and there's things that we don't enjoy that don't. And the challenge most people have is when they have to go do things they don't enjoy. For example, researching an account, reading a 10K, or building a list to go prospect, or writing emails, or working on a proposal, or preparing for a QBR, whatever it is. Those things become dragged out where it should take only 10 minutes or something for a task. It could take 2 hours because you start and you stop and you go to the thing that's fun. You start and stop, go to the thing that's fun, and you never get anything done. So it takes you 10 times the amount of time to get anything done than it would otherwise to actually just hammer it out and do it. And so how did I get off ADHD medication and learn to live in the mundane? I think that's what it comes down to, is living in the mundane. And the answer is really simple. I got into addiction recovery. I had already given up things like smoking pot, watching porn, getting drunk, playing video games. So these things that I might do when I was bored or stressed or felt overwhelmed, these were coping mechanisms. Now I didn't have those channels anymore, but I still had my Adderall. And what I found is it was kind of the same thing. I found myself wanting to take Adderall simply to work because I didn't want to work. So I'd pop an Adderall and it would help me get through the day. But because I was in addiction recovery, it unfortunately was more of the same. And I'm addicted to Adderall. I got to get this off. And one day, if you can give up porn and you can give up some of those other things, I had already built the discipline in recovery to know that I could keep the discipline off taking Adderall, okay? And so what I did, really simple, is I flushed the Adderall down the toilet. Now, if you're taking Adderall and you need it, I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving medical advice. Do what works for you. But for me, it was really simple. It was just another addiction, and I was keenly aware that this was not something that I wanted in my life. So fundamentally what I did was, once I got off the Adderall, I started deploying new habits. And I'll just give you a few, but the first thing I did is I started really reading and investing in time management books and applying what I learned. So 3 that I love. Number 1 is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Number 2 is Atomic Habits. And number 3 is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. The next thing I did afterwards was, my wife is texting me that she can hear me in the backyard. I'm making this on a Sunday morning. She's still chilling. So I'll try and keep it down. But the next thing I did was I started deploying these techniques. The other book I read was a time management book called The 12-Week Year. And that was one that I deployed. But there are 3 techniques I started deploying which worked really, really well. The first was I did what was called a weekly plan. At the beginning of the week, I made a list of all the top things that I wanted to accomplish that week. And I prioritized them from 1 to 12. Usually it was like 12 or so on the weekly plan. So those were sitting in front of me. I printed the list out. It wasn't on a note or a Google Doc. It was right in front of me. I printed it out so it could be in front of me all week. The second thing I started doing, so that's the first one, is weekly planning. The second thing I started doing is daily planning, where I took, starting on Monday, the things that were ranked 1, 2, 3, whatever, the top priority items, and I said, I'm gonna do these things today. And I started task blocking. So I'd block and filled in my white space. White space is dead space. White space is the killer of anyone who struggles with a ADHD brain or have trouble focusing. Don't give yourself white space or you're gonna waste it. So I filled in all the white space with my top priorities for the day, okay? And the third thing I did is I started scoring myself at the end of the week. I used a weekly scorecard to see how many things did I actually accomplish that I set out to do. And in the beginning, it was like 25%, 30%. I found myself, even if I had it in the calendar, I would still fall back into old habits and start getting distracted. But I got really frustrated with myself because I'm like, I need to work on this. So I practiced one day, just like in recovery, it was one day at a time. Well, working a full day and working on the right things was still one day at a time. So gradually it started getting better and better. The final thing I did, the third thing was that I guess part 2 is like planning your day and scoring yourself. It's planning your day and planning your week are parts 1 and 2. The third thing I do is I cut off all the distractions. So I took Facebook off my phone. I took my news app off my phone. I put filters on my computer. I blocked off the stuff that, frankly was distracting me, turned off notifications. I just got used to not having those things. I got used to living in the mundane. So because I didn't have all those things that I can go to all the time, I had to get comfortable in the boring, right? Whereas before I was super uncomfortable in the boring and the mundane. Now I got really, really comfortable in the boring. And I tell my wife this all the time. It's like, I as an addict, as someone in recovery, like I need stimulation. But now, like, what's exciting for me is like going for a walk with my kids, taking an ice cold shower, going for a swim, going hiking, going traveling, things that were available to me the whole time that weren't as exciting before. Maybe now they're really exciting because I'm not doing all those other things that are like constant dopamine stimulation. So a simple walk is like, having a great like sushi meal is like heaven, right? So again, fundamentally, you got to get comfortable living in that like kind of boring zone. So it used to be the highs are really high, the lows are really low. Now it's like this, a little bit high, a little bit low, a little bit high, a little bit low. Calm, cool, and collected. But you know what? I show up every day. I work a full day. Now the business is crushing it. I'm helping other people learn how to do the same thing. But it starts with working on myself. I couldn't teach this stuff until I applied it myself. So hope this helps everyone. It is a journey. Give yourself grace. It takes time, but keep at it. For me, it's been 5.5 years to get to this point. So it started with awareness and then put in the work every single day. It'll get better and better. I'm Ian Koniak. Thanks for listening.